Welcome, seekers of truth and wisdom, to Soul Wisdom Transitions, where we embrace the magical dance between the mind, body, and spirit. This sacred space is dedicated to guiding you on a soulful journey of self-discovery, personal growth, and spiritual awakening. Get ready to harness the power within as we embark on a transformational odyssey towards a more enlightened and fulfilling existence. Open your hearts and minds, for the wisdom of the soul awaits. Let the transition begin. Today's episode, we're going to explore the dangers of comparison and how comparing ourselves to others affects our self-story, which you've heard me talk about in previous episodes, and how that impacts us in our life going forward. Comparison is the act of examining the similarities and differences between two or more things or concepts in order to evaluate the similarities or the differences. It's often used as a method of analysis or evaluation to determine the relative advantages and disadvantages of different options. Comparisons can be made based on various criteria: size, shape, color, cost, quality, performance, or any other relevant factors. And most importantly for us, comparison is something we learn at a very young age. You know, how many of us can remember hearing from mom or dad, why can't you be more like your sister? Why can't you be more like your brother or your cousin? It's something that they say, not in a negative way, but it's difficult to interpret what that might mean. I'm not as good as my sister. I'm not as athletic as my brother. I'm not as academically inclined as my cousin. You know, it's an evaluation that we really don't need to have at that particular time in our life. And we take this with us as we grow up, the different comparisons. And I'm not good enough. If you've read my book or if you heard me talk about this, I was always second. It was something that was told to me over and over again, or the lessons that I learned over and over again, especially in grammar school. In grammar school, if I got a 95, well, then there was one girl in the class that always got a 97 or 100. I was never first. In fact, and it affected me so much that I remember when we did spelling bees, early on in grammar school, probably second or third grade, I would get the word wrong on purpose so that I could sit down, because I didn't want to be in the spotlight, because I wasn't good enough to be in the spotlight. So we learn early on this comparison, and now that we're adults and dealing with the onslaught of social media and the pressure that we impose on ourselves, actually, to deal with it for the Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all the others. It's difficult. And I honestly, I don't understand it. And in fact, I asked my nephew at one point a couple of years ago, I said, what is the big deal? Why is Facebook, why does it have so much control over people, young kids of your generation? And he sadly said to me, it's the only validation we get. And that's terrible. If the only validation you get is from getting clicks and likes and reactions from most of the people you don't know, that's it. It's such an external validation, and it's not something that not something I encourage. Am I on Facebook? Yes. From as a business owner and someone who is trying to get my message out there, I understand that this technology is someplace I have to be. So I am on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I don't do anything else. And I'm consistent. And I post every Tuesday. I post my Tuesdays with Terry. And that's about it. I don't really post much other than that. And it's usually inspirational messages or something to get you think about where you are in your own life and how you might look at things differently. What I don't do is I don't go on there and say, oh my God, I can't believe Lori is on a Paris trip and she travels all over the world and that is just fabulous. Good for Lori. If I wanted to do that, I would, but it's not a priority of mine. So I don't compare myself to everybody in the social media realm. Is there someone who have more friends than me? I'm sure there are. And I don't care. I am who I am. I like who I am. And if you don't like who I am, that's not my problem. That's yours because I'm pretty awesome. So comparison, negatively comparing, it's just something that we take with us and it's heavy and there's no need for it. The next time you're on and you're on social media and you're comparing yourself or, let's take a moment, get in touch with your soul wisdom, which is what we're all about. And what does that little voice tell you? Good for Lori. She's out traveling to Paris. And that's not where Terry needs to be. You post something that you're very proud of. I just posted something I saw. I was able to find my my published book, Finding True Purpose. I found it in the new Castle Rock Library here in Colorado. And I took my picture with my book on the shelf. I was very proud of that. And I have to say that I was astounded to see, after a few days, that I had over 100 reactions. And that was the first time that ever happened in all the years that I've been posting things, that I've had that many reactions. And it really surprised me. But I post things because they mean something to me. And I hope that they mean something to even just one other person. And that means I've gotten my message out there. So as you're, becoming more aware of, and we've discussed this too, of becoming awareness and what your triggers are, and triggers for some might be comparison. Comparing yourself to, oh my God, look at that. The neighbor's got a new car. Good for the neighbors. So it's so what? Just be happy for them. And it's got nothing to do with you. That's not your story. That's their story. So the story you can tell yourself is, oh, wow, look, the neighbor's got a new car. That's great. I'm so glad that my car, which actually has over 100,000 miles on it, thank you, Toyota, my car is still running fine, and I don't need to shell out, many thousands of dollars for a new car. I'm grateful that my car is still running and it gets me where I need to go. So there's no, just be aware of the comparisons. that you're going through. It's challenging. And be aware of what comparisons you're offering to your kids or your grandkids. Don't say, oh, why can't you be more like your sister? Wouldn't it be amazing if the little ones would turn to us and say, actually, Mom, I am nothing like my sister. I am me, and I am so special the way I am. I mean, talk about needing to do the happy dance after that. So, there's so much that we can do and be aware of. And, just strategies to overcome the comparisons. The next time you find yourself comparing, or, you're on Instagram and it's like, oh my God, Julie posts, something every day. That's so amazing. And good for Julie. That's too much for me. I post once a week unless I have something special that I need to share. And I think learning about what's going on, or what seems to be going on in other people's lives through Facebook is, it makes me fearful for the way our society is going. In fact, I had a friend call me yesterday, and she said, I said, oh, I'm so glad, I saw your picture on Facebook and you're traveling with your daughters and everybody looks so happy. And the first thing she said to me is, she said, well, pictures can be deceiving. I was like, okay, so what's going on? And she said, well, actually, it was kind of my last hurrah with her daughter who's in college in California. And she said, I didn't want you to see this on Facebook. I wanted to call and tell you I've just been diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer. I've got chemo coming up for the next year. I won't be able to work my business. And that was kind of like my last trip before the procedures start. So, when you're comparing yourself to something on Facebook, people use that to build themselves up and to just like in the Hollywood movies, you put up a facade. Look at how fabulous this is. Now, behind the scenes, somebody's life is falling apart. So, take things with a grain of salt, and just be aware that, especially with social media, you may be comparing yourself to something that's not real. So be aware of that and touch in, touch in with your soul wisdom, which is with you at all times. You can access it anytime you want to, and just compare yourself to yourself. Especially so many of my friends, women entrepreneurs, and they're trying to work a job, raise a family, and have a side hustle. And you're comparing yourself to someone who has nannies and has, help and has, a trust fund. There's no comparison. You are who you are. You're dealing with what you're dealing with, and give yourself credit. If you want to compare yourself to someone, compare yourself to yourself. So, wow, I did 10 more minutes of walking today than I did yesterday. That's a great comparison. Give yourself some credit for that. Or, I finally pulled out Mom's recipe and I made biscuits from scratch. They were terrible. You can laugh. and just compare yourself. All right, I didn't even try that yesterday. So you compare yourself. It's like, okay, maybe, what did I do not quite right? That the biscuits, the biscuits that they weren't like mom used to make them. And that's okay. You're comparing yourself to mom, but okay, let's tweak the recipe. How can I make them Terry's biscuits? Take mom's basic recipe and tweak it. That's a comparison. How can I do better? Do better with myself, not compared to anyone else. So what is the comparison? Just give yourself more credit. And if we could be more collaborative and supportive rather than, a negative comparison. And, you just might say something like, oh, look at that. I got so many more responses than Maria did. Well, how can you support Maria? How about going on and, clicking a like or putting a comment or, that a girl or you did good or, let's be more collaborative and supportive. There's no competition. Just take a few minutes, listen to your soul wisdom. That's where the wisdom is. Listen to your soul. So before we close for today, I would like to share with you our ongoing Fan of the Week, and this is from Scott G. Soul Wisdom Transitions with Terry is a deeply enriching podcast that guides listeners on a mystical journey of self-discovery. Through insightful discussions and inspiring narratives, Terry illuminates the path to inner transformation. This podcast is a treasure trove yearning to explore the depths of their soul's wisdom. Thank you so much for that, Scott. And if you would like to be on the fan of the week, I invite you to go onto your Apple Podcasts and leave a review, and I will, I pick one every time I record, and thank you for your continued support. So, okay, Soul Wisdom Seekers, that concludes our episode for today. I want to thank you for tuning in. Remember, as you navigate through the twists and turns of life transitions, trust in the wisdom of your soul. If you're going to compare yourself to something, compare yourself to maybe I did just a little bit better yesterday. Embrace the lessons, honor the growth, and always remain open to the guidance that comes your way. Until we reconvene for our next soul-stirring conversation, may you continue to blossom into the highest version of yourself. Embrace the beauty of your journey and always be guided by the whispers of your soul. Stay tuned for more soulful wisdom on Soul Wisdom Transitions. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep flowing with the wisdom of your soul.
I'm ready.